Well, hello everyone and welcome. My name is Libby Davis. I am a program manager here at Forte, and I work specifically with our MBA students. You may have gotten several emails from me or my colleagues over the last several weeks. So if this is the first time that we're meeting, I'm excited to say hello, and think that this is a great opportunity for us to meet because we are talking about all things corporate finance today. Welcome to Conquer Your Career Corporate Finance. So this event is part of our Conquer Your Career series. It's a virtual series, and it offers an inside look at what it's meant or what it's like to be a woman with an MBA working in various fields. So let's get started because I know we have a great conversation in place for today. All right, so corporate finance careers can offer intellectually challenging work that impacts how an organization operates and grows in the short and long term. Our panelists today have found their fit in corporate finance and will discuss the knowledge, skills, and abilities that can help launch someone onto this career path. So let's get started. And what we're going to do first is kind of go through and introduce our panelists, and I'll have them do that themselves so they can share their exciting stories. So first, I'd like to introduce you to Sing Gao. Sing graduated with an MBA from Georgetown University and is currently a senior finance manager at Procter & Gamble. Sing, welcome. Could you please tell us a little bit more about your career journey?
Sure. Yeah. Hi. Thank you for having me today. My name is Sing. I work in PNG from started in 2021. And before PNG, I attended business school at Georgetown. And before that, I actually have an accounting background. I got my master's in accounting from GW, George Washington University. And then after that, I worked in government contractor for a little bit, for about a year and a half. And then afterwards, I worked for Bloomberg for almost 6 years. I was doing accounting and tax policy analysis, analyzing like tax policies and FASB pronouncement. After a couple of years, I kind of feel like I enjoyed doing a lot of analysis. In accounting, but I kind of feel like I wanted to expand my horizon. I kind of wanted to learn more about other aspects of the business. So I decided to go back to business school. And while at business school, I got recruited from PNG, visited PNG for a couple of days during the pre-MBA program. And then really like the company, like the people. So I decided to come back after I graduated.
Well, Sing, I'm excited to learn more, and I love that you were able to kind of track your experience with P&G from pre-MBA to that offer, and now you've been there for several years. So excited to learn more in a bit. All right, next I'm pleased to introduce you to Brandy Gooseby. Excuse me. Brandy graduated with an MBA from Texas Women's University and currently works as a finance director for Club Channel at PepsiCo. Brandy, welcome. Could you tell us more about your career as a finance professional?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Brandy, and I'm currently the finance director of the Club Channel at Frito-Lay, where I oversee our Costco, Sam's Club, and BJ's businesses. So collectively, these customers represent around $2.5 billion in sales volume. So as you can imagine, it's a very dynamic and fast-moving pace, with a lot of like strategic complexities. I've been with the company, well, it'll be officially 4 years this Saturday. I completed my undergrad at SMU, where I majored in applied mathematics. And after graduating, I started my career in mortgage banking, at Bank of America. And I spent a few years there before getting an opportunity to go work at McKesson as a senior analyst. So I kind of moved away from the senior finance analyst work. So from the mortgage banking to a senior analyst. And that is what gave me like more of a solid foundation in data analysis. Eventually, similar to Zing, I got tired of the mundane data analysis. So I decided that I wanted to get into finance. And I had networked with some finance leaders at McKesson. So this is when I decided to pursue my MBA at TWU. And that experience is what like really helped accelerate my leadership journey. I was intentional about using my time in business school to help strengthen my ability to influence, build my confidence in strategic thinking. And I think that is what kind of laid the groundwork for my career in corporate finance. And it also led to me getting an opportunity as a senior finance manager at McKesson, before getting offered an opportunity to join PepsiCo, where I've been fortunate enough to rotate through several different roles spanning pricing and customer finance, including leading strategic strategies for our Kroger business as well. And like now stepping into my first director role, leading the entire club channel. So one thing I really love about finance is it's just not just about the numbers. It's about storytelling, leadership, and having the ability to influence. So as far as my leadership style, it's very much rooted in just empowering others. I try to help my team build confidence and the capability to lead their own businesses as well, so they feel a sense of ownership. And the people-centered approach has served me very well and being in my first director role, especially when you talk about transition and transformations, seeing how the business is constantly evolving over time.
That's awesome, Brandy. I'm really excited to hear more. And I love that you have like such a strong applied mathematics background. I think that's really like interesting, and I'm excited to hear how that kind of plays a role in everything that you do too. All right, next up, I'm excited to introduce you to Jennifer Hibbert. Jennifer completed her MBA at the University of Virginia Darden School of Business, now serves as a corporate strategy advisor at ExxonMobil. Jennifer, could you please tell us a little bit more about yourself and your experiences in finance?
Sure. Hi, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here today. A little bit of background. I'm a San Diego native, but I'm sitting in Houston, Texas today, and I'll share a little bit about my journey here. I went to Wake Forest University undergrad, and I was a mathematical business major, so I have a little math background like Brandy. And then I went to work for the U.S. federal government in the Washington, D.C. area and the procurement space for a couple of years after undergrad. And I really wanted to broaden my career aperture, as federal procurement was really interesting, but kind of a niche space in Washington, D.C. And so I went back to business school, and I really didn't know what a traditional corporate function was. So actually, I went to the Forte MBA Leadership Conference, more than a decade ago. And that's where I actually met ExxonMobil. I went to several different functional panels to learn about what I might be interested in. And I interned with ExxonMobil between first and second year and have been here full time for almost exactly 11 years. And I've had various roles in corporate finance that I'll share more about throughout this panel. But yeah, I've had 8 different assignments in my time here, and I've lived in Houston, Budapest, and Dallas, and then moved back to Houston not too long ago, and have really enjoyed the journey. And also I am a mom of 2 little ones, which has kept me on my toes. So I'm happy to share about work-life balance or anything on your mind.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'm really excited to hear more about all those different moves, even international moves. So that's all very, very exciting. And also very happy to hear that you met ExxonMobil at our Women's Leadership Conference. That's a great full circle moment. All right. And then last but certainly not least, I'm pleased to introduce you to Anam Kaleem. Anam completed her MBA from Boston College and now works as the Director of Fidelity Wealth Analytics at Fidelity. Anam, please tell us a little bit more about your career journey.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our session. As Libby said, my name is Anam Kaleem. I have a double major in math as well and economics. I worked at JP Morgan and State Street post-undergrad in similar finance capacities. And while I was there, and then while I was there, I realized I wanted to gain a deeper background in finance as I have math and economics there. So decided to do my MBA at Boston College, focusing on finance specifically. So at BC, Fidelity was heavily recruiting for their financial leadership rotational program. And I decided to take a leap of faith and do the summer internship there. And it was just a fantastic experience. So coming from a financial background already, I was looking for a role in a company where my work had an impact, that I used both my quantitative and qualitative skills and have a clear path to move up. And then very importantly, also a good work culture to have. And Fidelity had all of that. So at Fidelity, I found that there are endless opportunities to build a meaningful career that positively impacts other people's lives, your own life, and then you also have an opportunity to have an ambitious career where you get to present to senior leadership, actually work on strategy, create change and meaningful connections. And so after the summer internship, I decided to do the full-time 2-year rotational program where every 6 months I get to rotate into another business of the firm. And so this allowed me to get a full picture of the company and really be a well-rounded candidate coming out of the Fidelity financial program. So the areas I rotated in were the corporate function, asset management, wealth management, and a separate private equity arm. So all of these in financial capacities. So I really enjoyed my time in asset management. So right after the program, I worked full-time in the asset management finance group. And currently I'm a director of the Fidelity Wealth Group, where I work on a range of analytical projects, and happy to speak about any of those questions if you have questions on that.
That is fantastic. I appreciate that you mentioned Fidelity as a place where I felt like I could have an ambitious career. I think that's a really like powerful thing to say about your org. So I'm excited to hear more about that. All right, team, let's jump into our panel questions. So the first question is going to go to Jennifer. Jennifer, what are some unique opportunities that come from a career in corporate finance? What are some challenges and how might these challenges be overcome?
Okay, I think what's unique is that finance is needed in any company supporting any type of business, and that means that the opportunities are really endless. And also finance as a discipline can be really broad, and I'm sure it's defined differently at each company, but for ExxonMobil, I can speak from that perspective. It ranges from, okay, are you doing financial modeling? Are you doing something in accounting? Anything that touches finance kind of is under that umbrella. And even my current corporate strategy advisor role is not intuitively something in corporate finance, but actually I am like the finance person on my team, advising non-finance executives from a financial perspective and shaping the company's long-term strategy. So I think that's really cool as well. Just how broad the application is. So that's what makes it unique, but also challenging. So in ExxonMobil, we kind of think about finance from a couple of different lenses, and ones we have business-facing finance. So in one of my roles recently, I was an LNG, liquefied natural gas advisor. I didn't know what liquefied natural gas was. So how on earth am I supposed to advise without knowing a lot about the business? So that's a challenge, but I think it's an exciting thing because I like to learn. I like to be challenged. So leaning into that to better understand the business and add value from a financial perspective is something I find fun. When I went to Budapest, I was leading a large team, so I had formal leadership authority over accounting work. And I am not an accountant by background, but part of that challenge was, okay, I'm in a new culture over a discipline I touched at business school, but it had been several years. But how do you leverage your network, and also how do you use your team? And as an MBA, you've been trained to think about what questions are important and how deep do you need to go as a manager in the details, and kind of calibrating yourself, and actually having not a deep expertise can be helpful as well, because sometimes you ask questions that might seem basic that somebody who's so entrenched in the details hasn't really thought about. So I guess to sum it up, the unique opportunities and the challenges are almost one and the same, but where I really love working in corporate finance.
I was writing down so many things that you said. Thank you for that. I think that answer is really strong, and I appreciate that you were talking about how, there are these specific moments in your career that you can look to and the fact that you said like I touched on accounting in business school, but it had been a little bit, and how you worked through that, I think is really powerful. Or like how you had to dive into liquid natural gas. All of those things, I hope gives our attendees here today the comfort to know that like you're gonna continually be learning in your career, and it's okay to not have 100% of the, knowledge right away, that it's a continual learning process. So thank you for mentioning those things in your stories. Okay, next question, we will go to Brandy. Brandy, what is a typical day like for you, and how does your work have an impact at your organization?
I would say like no 2 days ever look the same for me. And I think honestly, that's the exciting part, and what keeps the role exciting. You're constantly faced with different challenges. So I feel like it is impossible to ever get bored within a role at Frito-Lay as a whole. But a typical day involves a mix of strategy, problem solving, and collaborating with my sales leads, my sales strategy team, my brand and innovation team, as well as our commercialization team. So leading the club channel gives me the opportunity to see a lot of different areas of the business, which I love. So there is a lot of cross-functional partnership within any finance role, honestly, at the company. So having the ability to be able to influence and tell a story is very important within our finance roles. So my team works directly impacts like how we grow profitability. Like I say, the portfolio that I manage is over $2.5 billion. So whether it's optimizing how we are spending trade, evaluating the promotions that we're running within the clubs, and just building stronger forecast models so that we're giving leadership visibility into upcoming performance, or shaping like our broader commercial strategy. I also have the unique ability from a customer leader standpoint of being able to impact new innovation that we introduce into the market, which is not something you typically see within our customer teams. That's usually managed by our brand and innovation team. But since club is often looked as the entry point into the market for a lot of products that you see in whether it's grocery stores or convenience stores, club channel kind of helps dictate some of the things that we're going to pursue in the future. So being in this new role has given me the opportunity to see a lot of different parts of the business. And I do want to call out something that I think Anam mentioned is like the ability to rotate different roles within finance is something that we also have. So it's like every 18 months, you have the ability to move to a new team in a new role to learn a different part about the business. So I think that is also something that's very cool and helped me get to the point that I'm at today. But beyond the numbers, I also spend a ton of time developing my team and just making sure that they feel confident and empowered to lead the business. So it's in like the people part to me is very important. And if not, is more important than just like the technical finance part of it. Because to Jennifer's point, they're in the weeds every day. And they know the day-to-day business better than I would or anyone else on the outside. So letting them know that they have the ability to kind of make decisions and influence the strategy kind of helps set the team up for success and make sure that, you know, we as a whole are hitting the targets assigned to us by the company.
Thank you, Brandy. I can definitely see how, you know, no 2 days are the same with all those different exciting things that you get to do. And I love that you talk about, you know, the cross-functional partnership that's associated with your role and being able to work with different folks, influence different folks and help them and have them help you. So definitely seems like your role and other roles kind of in the corporate finance space really allow for you to go and, you know, pick up different new and different knowledge, skills, and abilities from these different spaces. So I am excited to hear more about that. Okay, our next question will go to Anam. Anam, could you describe the recruitment process in corporate finance roles? What strategies or tactics did you use to prepare for MBA level interviews? And then what recommendations do you have for folks who want to stand out from the crowd during the recruitment process? That is a very long question. It's 3 questions, so let me know if you need me to repeat, but would love to know more about your recruitment process at Fidelity.
Sure. So in my opinion, for every type of interview, for every type of professional work, you should be over prepared. Know the role you're applying for, the company, its attributes that stick out to you and why you'd like to pursue a career in corporate finance. Now, this isn't to say that you need an extensive background in finance. In fact, at Fidelity, for our post-MBA program, we actually hire people of various backgrounds. We've hired geologists, teachers, tech engineers, all for the financial program. But what it's really about is is knowing what's important for corporate finance or the role, and cherry picking what skills from the past could be directly applicable and transferable to the role that you're applying for. So it's always good to highlight your analytical skills. Think about any work you've done that required data analytics, how you presented that information. Are you concise? Do you have the ability to collaborate well on a team or across teams or across functions? Do you have influence on others, and are you able to create buy-in when pitching an idea? So a lot of these corporate finance interviews are looking for these skills as they invest in future leaders. So many interviews will be behavioral in nature, but they want to specifically know if you have good examples of topics like strategy, analytics, if you're influential, do you have good communication, your adaptability to ambiguous environments. And then most of all, they want to see your passion shine through. Are you someone that's and are you someone that's personality wise a good fit? Can you make good conversation, pleasant to be around 40 hours a week? So these are going to be your coworkers. So the interview process, you're interviewing them, they're interviewing you. See if it feels like a good fit as well during your conversation. So I made sure to exude those qualities in terms of passion and fit, but then also prepared really good examples for the attributes that I mentioned before.
I appreciate that you talked about like storytelling and communication as being one of those things that you really need to be able to highlight in the interview. We'll talk about that a little bit more later in the panel, but I'm glad I'm seeing that as a theme from several of you throughout this discussion, that is really key to making sure that folks can understand what the information that you're sharing, but then also why it's important and how it can be applied. So thank you.
Right.
I appreciate that. Okay, our next question is for Sing. Sing, what builds lasting credibility in corporate finance? And to what extent has your approach to building credibility changed throughout the different phases of your career? Would love to know more about that with you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I would say first and foremost is to be able to have the accuracy and preciseness of the financial data that you are gathering. So in corporate finance, I would say that we are dealing with a lot of data every day, and the ability to be able to analyze the data and to be able to come up with your recommendations and suggestions to leadership and or to your multifunctional team is very crucial. So for example, like if we were dealing with a large set of data every day, but for example, some people make mistakes, but like if you are not able to have the accuracy or preciseness, and your multifunctional team will be wondering, oh, what else she is saying is wrong? Like, can I trust her anymore? Like, can I, if I need to double check her work, or if I will need to like go back to other people to recheck her work. So I will say first and foremost to be able to have the accuracy and precision.
Sing, I think.
Right?
Oh, can you hear me
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I think it could be my internet, but I think you froze a little bit. But the last thing that I heard you say, if you don't mind repeating, is just you were emphasizing that the accuracy is really important. So if you don't mind kind of going from there, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I think having the accuracy is really important to be able to build the credibility among your team, among your multifunctionals, so that they can depend on you, so that they know that your suggestions and recommendations can be relied upon. And second of all, I would say like to be able to do things right like one time is not that hard, but to be able to have the consistency is not easy. So I will say the second thing is to be able to have the preciseness and the accuracy consistently among your team, amongst the different stakeholders that you work with.
I think those are two great things to mention, accuracy and consistency. And through those two things, you're building that credibility on your team and then larger as well. So thank you. That is super helpful. Okay, so for our next question, this is going to go to Jennifer and Brandy, but we'll start with Jennifer. For the two of you, could you answer this question? Corporate finance roles often come with dynamic workloads and evolving priorities. What practices or routines have helped you maintain focus, manage stress, and sustain performance over time? So Jennifer, we'll start with you.
Okay, thanks. And I think some of the panelists have touched at the heart of this question a little bit as we go, which is nice. But stepping back a little bit at business school, maybe if you're already a student, you can resonate with this or you're thinking about it. There are more things in a day than you can possibly do. And it teaches you to think about what's really important in business school for you, I guess, and how you want to balance your time and resources. And that's not dissimilar to what I've experienced at work. And I like that environment. I find it empowering in some ways. For example, if there's more work than time in a day, instead of working 24 hours a day, I think, okay, what work needs to be done and what value is it bringing? But what work is there that maybe isn't bringing value? And can we just stop doing it? Or is there a process improvement? Or, hey, maybe if it's meaningful work, my plate's full, is there someone else in the organization who could learn something from this work? Should it be delegated? There's lots of different ways you can tackle oversubscription. And I think that trying to solve that puzzle can be rewarding. Also, communication is so key. So if I'm thinking how I want to prioritize something, but I'm not sure, I seek clarity. So go to my manager, say, these are the things I'm prioritizing. Are you aligned? Because working on the right thing is also sometimes hard to define. So making sure you have alignment from the people around you can be important. And maybe if it's wrong, getting that feedback earlier rather than later. And also sometimes people fake impose deadlines. And what I mean is, hey, can you do this? Turns into a scramble when if you just said, hey, when do you need this by? It might be much farther in the future than you thought. So that's how I think about that a bit as well. Also, I think finding a corporation or company where it fits your lifestyle is really important. So work-life balance has been important to me this whole journey, now more than ever with little kids. And ExxonMobil is a very family-friendly place. They provide flexibility, and I exercise that without guilt. They're flexible with me, I'm flexible with them. So that manages this a bit as well. And then knowing yourself is just so important. For example, I think everyone on this call is probably very determined, which is why we're here, goal-oriented. Sometimes if it's, I don't know, me versus Excel, I don't want to leave my computer until I have cracked the code and I don't get an error. But I know myself that there's a point of diminishing return, and the best thing I can do is stand up and take a lap. And sometimes I'll be walking to the bathroom and it will just hit me like a bolt of lightning what I need to do after I had been sitting there for an hour trying it. So for me, sometimes taking a step away from work is actually coming back with fresh eyes, even like the next day, or going for a workout or something is the best way to make progress.
That all of that was incredible. I wrote down so many things. I especially like what you were saying about like, sometimes just asking the question, does this need to continue to be done, or like can we use our time and energy for something else? I think it's like a really powerful thing to be able to say. And then I appreciate that you also mentioned, you and ExxonMobil are flexible with one another, and that you don't feel guilt to doing that, to make sure that you're able to prioritize your life. So thank you for all of that. Brandy, same question to you.
This is a tough question, but I think it's very relevant, especially given like the week I've had so far. It's been very interesting and busy. But I think for me, similar to Jennifer, I've learned to that structure creates space. So I'm learning to be more proactive when it comes to planning and communicating, and just understanding or aligning on top priorities with my manager. Because the to-do list is never ending. So there's never enough time in a day to get everything done. And I often joke, with colleagues, like I need a clone. I need two of me to get half of the things that I need to do done in a day. And then just also understanding which deadlines are real versus flexible. I think a lot of times you do get requests from individuals saying that they need this within 48 hours or sometimes next day, sometimes same day here, but just truly understanding like, what is it for? do we really need it? Is there another source of information that can be used? So just understanding the nature of the request. So for me, I like to try to start my week by setting my non-negotiable priorities. So these are things that I've aligned on with my manager that I know that I must complete. And then moving forward, I like block time for deep work. And then also have time block with my team each week to just kind of check in and align on priorities with them and make sure that they feel supported. So each day on my calendar, I have at least 2 hours blocked for focus time. Not saying that I actually get to focus each day or that the proactive planning always work, because sometimes you do have last minute fire drills or urgent requests that come up from senior leadership. So you have to be able to adjust and be adaptable and kind of move things around. And that's where, leveraging your team for support and being able to delegate to them, which is why I think I go back to empowering your team to make decisions. If you empower them to make decisions, you give them ability to step out there and showcase their skills. And that also makes you more confident and comfortable when it comes time to needing to delegate certain activities to them. And it also gives them the opportunity to show leadership what their skill set is. Because I believe everybody's end goal is to be promoted and to move on to the next thing. So I look for those opportunities as well. But I think what's equally important is just giving yourself grace, understanding that things shift, especially in the current environment. So just try to normalize flexibility while staying solution oriented and just communicate and over communicate. And if you do have a team or if you have your manager, just talk to them, help, get with them to help you understand what you need to prioritize or what can be shifted off. Because a lot of times, even I'll go to my manager and I am talking through things that I have all these things, which should I do? And he'll step in and he'll provide cover to other cross-functional leaders to let them know that we need to shift things. So over communicating what task you have is very important. And then for me personal wise, as far as like my own stress, I think gym time. So I prioritize going to the gym every morning. That is my me time in a sense. Meditating or sometimes just simply sitting in silence. I do a lot of self-reflecting, whether it's on my personal life, my work life, trying to understand and identify things that I could have done differently or handled situations or scenarios differently. And then for me, I like to smile and laugh. So humor also goes a long way in managing stress. But I think, like I say, grace is important. Understanding that at the end of the day, you are human and we are going to make mistakes, but just taking accountability and ownership of those mistakes. And when you do make a mistake, being able to outline the steps or processes you're going to implement to prevent it in the future. I think that's very key in maintaining that credibility, as you talked about. So like I say, don't feel like you have to be a perfectionist, but because you're human, you're going to make mistakes. So giving yourself grace, but also understanding what went wrong in the process or what step was missed and outlining things you would do differently moving forward also helps maintain that credibility with leadership.
Thank you so much, Brandy. I wrote down structure creates space, and I think that might be in my new motto. So thank you. Thanks to you and Jennifer. I feel like I learned a lot about all the things, but especially just, different strategies that one can take when they're trying to manage many complex and ever-moving priorities. So thanks to you both. All right, our next question is for Anam. Anam, can you share what it's been like to operate in settings where you were the only woman in the room? How have you made space for your perspective, and how have those experiences shaped your communication or leadership style?
Sure. So you might notice in your MBA programs, or if you're not an MBA yet, in general finance areas, when you look around the room, the ratio of women to men is very low in finance. And oftentimes you'll find the same situation at your workplace or in corporate finance in general. So I'm actually the only woman on my direct team. In many instances, I was the only woman in the room, or even the only person of color or person with a blatant difference, my headscarf as well. So I found that the best way to have leadership remember you, or you yourself be in a leadership position, or have an impact, is to continuously push yourself to communicate in a meeting. Don't be afraid of what you want to say. I found that the more you speak, especially in your team meetings, the more everyone starts to take notice. I wouldn't say I'm an extrovert at all, but somehow all my coworkers describe me as an extrovert, which I'm surprised and they're surprised. And so through my rotational program, I've also been trained to network extensively. I've requested coffee chats with many senior leaders who are completely open to doing so. And that creates a certain rapport that allows me to be comfortable speaking up in meetings and have my ideas shared and used. Because they know me, they're also more likely now to speak directly to me in a meeting and ask for my ideas or even bat for me. So through networking and keeping relationships, I was also easily able to get the next role. In two of the roles that I applied for within Fidelity, it was primarily because I've worked with the VP of that role before, or we've had some sort of relationship where someone was able to bat for me in that case. But also, nothing is more important than really knowing your stuff and doing your work well, and correctly. So if you can prove through 1 to 2 good pieces of good work that you're showing something that's impactful, that you have good analytical skills, everyone will have to definitely listen to you.
I really appreciated that you talked about how you laid the groundwork for yourself in these spaces by having these one-on-one coffee chats with senior leaders, and just like mentioning how, because you already knew them, you felt more comfortable speaking out in the spaces, and they were more interested, well, they were probably already interested in hearing what you had to say, but because you had that relationship, they were actively potentially actively seeking out your thoughts and perspectives. So I really appreciated that you thought about it kind of holistically when you were answering this question, from like actually being in the room and what to do, but then also how to prepare, so that you are feeling as confident as possible when you're in those spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate that. All right, our next question is for Jennifer and Singh. We'll start with Jennifer. Jennifer, what techniques or strategies do you use to communicate financial insights in ways that are both accessible and actionable for many different audiences? What role does storytelling play in making this information resonate?
Thanks. I think that the MBA program really prepares you for these different types of communications. And I'm going to rewind back to when I was in business school. One of the guys with a finance or accounting background had a really fancy answer to something the professor said. And she said, and I really couldn't follow it. And she said, "Thank you. Can you repeat what you just said in one sentence?" And he sat there for what felt like a really long time to me. So probably felt like a really, really long time to him. And he was able to do that. But that moment really plays a lot in my head, because a lot of times in the corporate finance function, okay, you'll have finance colleagues and you're going to be speaking in your language, but other times you're going to be communicating to people that don't have any finance background. And I'm a big believer in, if I don't understand something, I know I don't understand something if I can't easily explain something. And so I'll give you an example. I was in my last role, again, supporting liquefied natural gas, and we had a very complex financial issue that required some corrections that had P&L, or profit and loss, impact. And I had to walk the senior vice president of that business line through the results. But there were months of detailed work with different experts in finance to kind of untangle this web. He didn't need to know all those gory details. And my role in that team actually wasn't to relearn what the experts in the room knew. It was to ask the right questions, synthesize the information to understand what is the impact, why did it happen in simple terms, not complex terms, and what are we going to do about it, and what are we going to do to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And that's what I had to deliver to the senior vice president. So knowing your target audience and understanding what they care about, putting yourself in their shoes, and then explaining it to them in what you might feel are simple terms, is actually how you need to be delivering the message. So that's what really comes to mind. So maybe less so storytelling, although that's helpful, but just tailoring your communication to the appropriate audience.
Absolutely. I think that that's a really important thing for all of us to be aware of. And I think like any type of role, but especially when, you're working with such what can be at sometimes complex material, and you need to be able to communicate that in different ways. So thank you for mentioning that. And that's a great example too. So thanks, Jennifer. Sing, same question to you.
Yeah, sure. Yes, I agree with what Jennifer has said. To be able to communicate very complex issues in simple terms is very important because not a lot of people understand finance, and a lot of people want to understand finance either. But also, I think in my current role, I'm a profit forecaster for our personal healthcare business. In my prior role, I was in commercial finance role to support our personal health business as well. But in my role, I've been actually using a lot of storytelling. For example, for my current role, the business are doing okay, but a lot of times we miss our forecast, and sometimes we over deliver our forecast. It's not something that we kind of want to happen. We kind of want to just deliver our forecast. But a lot of time I'll have to go back and really think about what is driving the business and why did it happen? Like, why did we over deliver or under deliver? What are the drivers, and what is the story behind it? And that's kind of what the leadership really care about. They care about what happened and what they need to do in order to deliver our forecast. In my previous role as well, I was supporting our commercial team. And a lot of times we wanted to sell into, for example, the club channel, a new innovation. And our customer, they care about what is the selling story. So we have to really, in our finance role, we have really to analyze the financials and analyze the data to be able to tell a story of why is it beneficial for us, and why is it beneficial also for the customers as well to do certain things to take our innovation and expand our distributions. Yeah. So I would, to summarize, so I would think to be able to communicate in a simple way, and then to be able to tell a story is really important.
Thank you, Sing. I think that that is a great way to wrap up our panel, because I'm looking at the time and I don't think we'll have time for any more questions, which is a bummer for me because I think that this is a fantastic conversation. But I just want to go ahead and thank all four of you for being here today, Sing, Anam, Jennifer, and Brandy. I wrote down so many things and so many tidbits from what you all said, and I'm confident that the folks that joined us here today did as well. I'm sure that they have seen, just like I have, that, not every day in a corporate finance role is different, and you really have an opportunity to touch many different businesses and make an impact in many different ways. And that there are a lot of key skills and abilities that help you get there. So I am just thrilled that we had this conversation today and grateful for all of you being here. I am going to just encourage the folks that are here today to continue attending different events and programs with Forte. One of the things that we try to do is make sure that our community members understand the many different opportunities for them within business. And so corporate finance is a great space to be in. But there are a lot of other upcoming events within our within our Conquer Your Career series, where we dive into different areas as well. So upcoming, we have a supply chain and operations focused session. We'll have one on technology and product management. So keep an eye on the Forte calendar, because there's always something exciting that's taking place. Up in October, we do have a brand management 101 workshop that's taking place with one of our alums leading that conversation. So if you are interested in that area, feel free to join us. But just generally know that there are a ton of different resources from Forte to help you kind of plan out your next step. So we hope that you learned a lot about corporate finance and how exciting and engaging it is in the type of work that you can do. And know that you can also look back to this recording later on if you want to hear a little bit more from our amazing panelists today. So with that, we are right at time. So again, I want to give my gratitude to our 4 panelists today, and of course, thank our attendees for being here and spending 45 minutes with Forte. So thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.